G'day guys, welcome. Eggs are expensive, really expensive at the moment. They're in shortage. And if you want good quality eggs, even half a dozen eggs, you're gonna have to pay some money. And eggs are a wonderful part and staple of the Australian diet. And you don't want to waste them. You really don't. I'm just going to come out and say it. And I know this won't sit well with a lot of you, and that's okay. I'm not here to appease you. I'm not, okay? I'm not here to appease you. I'm only here to tell you how I feel. If you feel differently, that's fine, okay? I've got no problem with that, okay? I don't feel like maybe this is a banana peel game for us, but I feel like hopefully this is an egg on your face type game. I'm not going to sit on the fence. I'm not going to beat around the bush. I'm going to go around in circles. And a lot of this comes down to feeling with us fans. I feel like Port are going to come across here, and I feel really strongly about this, and they're going to get the job done. In fact, I feel like they're going to get the job done comfortably against us tomorrow night. I think it's set up perfectly for them to do that. And I look at the odds, and yeah, I can understand everything. I can understand the fact that we're $1.48 and they're $2.59. Understand our recent record against them is strong, including a barnstorming finish, which I thought was a high point of a year, back at the Adelaide Oval in round 12. And what an extraordinary performance that was. Game on the line at three-quarter time. And this time last year, July the 15th, we smashed them by 50 points when we were rock and rolling at that stage in some really strong form. But no, I can see a situation tomorrow that they're going to come across here and give us a bit of a lesson, if I'm brutally honest. I think we're obviously not at our best at the moment and nowhere near it. And throw in some question marks now around our bodies and the impact that has on this group mentally as well. And I've got no doubts that they'll be like mentally looking at this as a big opportunity to stay second on the ladder. But when your bodies are not up to it and there's some form problems, confidence does waver and does drop. And I'm not saying Port Adelaide are in barnstorming form, but this is set up perfectly for them to come across, and what a lot of people saying, take a big scalp. Kenny is an experienced coach. He mightn't be a great coach, but he's an experienced coach, and I don't think a road trip to Marvel Stadium on a Friday night under the roof will particularly concern this group. In fact, I'd prefer this game to be outside at the MCG, in the cold, in the wet, than under the roof. I think, given our challenges at the moment in our bodies, I don't think we're playing that ground all that well. So I'm happy. I'm more than happy, and I will do this because if we get over the line in this is big. I think this is huge. I'm seeing a few cracks at the moment. A lot of that is around personnel, and I'm not making excuses for this team because I've mentioned this in the past. The best clubs are able to manage, their team throughout a long season. And maybe we're doing that at the moment. Maybe we're managing this group very carefully, and we are just priming ourselves for September. But I feel like at the moment, this stretch of suspect form, and I didn't see enough last week to suggest that this is going to turn around in 5 days, regardless of who we bring in. I just can't. And a lot of that is around the midfield. So I will come on air next week or on Sunday, whenever I do the review of this game, and if we get the chocolates, I will smash half a dozen quality eggs on my face, rub them in my eyes, and I will do the review of the game with egg on my face. I will hand on my heart do that, okay? Because that's the way I'm feeling at the moment. So there you go. So I'm going tomorrow night, and like always, I'll be pretty, not so much loud and vocal, but I'll be on the edge of my seat for this one because I'm starting to feel a little bit worried and a little bit concerned about our group, and I don't want to feel that way, obviously. But that's just the nature of this. Our midfield is really battling at the moment, and I think this, like always, we've got to somehow find that balance, and we're just not doing it at the moment. And it's funny because the reliance on Patrick Cripps, and I think TDK, I thought TDK was enormous against North Melbourne in that third quarter, and he was partly responsible for dragging us back into that game with Cripper. And I'm not underselling the performances of other players on the outside. It takes a team effort, but I feel like we've gone back to relying on Patrick Cripps too much. And he's having one hell of a football season. And now without TDK playing and Pitnet coming in, I feel like it's a really underperforming midfield. I really do. And I think there's some solid contributors in there. Hewitt was solid last week. Carroll was okay in there last week. Nothing special. Walsh, I am 100% certain he's carrying something at the moment. I really am. And that's not making excuses for him. That's just what it looks like. I mean, you cross the white line, then you're open slather in terms of assessing your performance, but he's definitely down on impact. And we're going up against an absolute crack, and I mean an absolute crack midfield who, and I think they will click, I really do. I think they're priming themselves for this one. I think their form has been pretty bloody good. And I'm not necessarily looking at what we did against them this time last year on July the 15th, where we beat them by 50 points at Marvel Stadium. I think we were in terrific form at that stage and really building. And that barnstorming finish against them in round 12 at Adelaide Oval was mouth-dropping. It almost was like that was a high point of our season. But you look at it, Butters, Rosie. I know Rosie's probably playing a little bit sore at the moment. Sweet, is doing an okay job. I think that will be a really sort of good battle in the ruck between Sweet and Pitnet. I think we definitely lose TDK as that extra midfielder, but Butters, Rosie, Horne-Francis, I know they're all still a little bit young, particularly Horne-Francis, but very damaging. And then just throw in, you just throw in, the Brownlow medal. I mean, he's well past his best, but Ollie Wines. And then you got someone like Will Drew. And I know Walsh had a huge game against this mob back in round 12, but he's nowhere near that form now, Sam Walsh. And then they get that run and they get the ball use by the likes of Dan Houston, Miles Bergman. They got Boak and Jace Burgoyne on the wings. And I know I'm pumping him up here. And you could look at our side and we could go through every player on our list, guys, and probably pump them up at the same time. But they've got Willie Rioli back. He didn't play against us last time. And one thing we didn't do really well against North Melbourne was defend the small forwards, particularly Paul Curtis. That will need to improve. And they've got some bigs that can do some significant damage like North did last week, particularly in that first half. So Dixon, they've got Ollie Lord, who played last week. I think actually they'll bring back Todd Marshall. He had a hip injury. He'll probably come back in. And then you've got the guy that I think gets under the guard of us every time we play them is Mitch Georgiadis. He's the one with speed. He's the one with X Factor. So they've got some power down there. And with Willie Rioli, I think a really dangerous small forward, and some guys that just get under the guard. You know, the likes of the hardworking Darcy Byrne-Jones and Jackson Mead, etc., etc. I'm really worried about this game. I think the Charlie and Harry have been serviceable and important, but they're capable. They're defenders at the moment, just capable. So Alir, Asava Radaglia, Brandon Zirk, Thatcher are capable of keeping an eye on them. I think the positive for us is the form of our small forwards last week. I think that was a real positive. And they will continue to hopefully build on that for the rest of the season. But I just think they're going to control this midfield for the whole night. It mightn't go their way for the whole game. But as this game progresses, I feel like they're just going to have too much power through the middle of the ground for us in that respect. And I'll say it again, guys. I think we've moved from having a really reliable and even star-studded midfield when you look at it on paper and you sort of build it up and go, okay, Walsh, Cripps, Hewitt, Chera, Kennedy. You're now going, okay, you're now actually going, all right, Cripps is an out-and-out beast, just a beast. Does everything for the football club, leads, performs, wins contested ball, tackles. And now you're actually looking at, okay, can Walsh rediscover, that form that he showed in last year's final series? Can Chera actually come in now? I mean, he played on half-back flank last week. Hewitt's always going to be Hewitt, but I see Hewitt as a Willem Drew. I just see him as a hard-working, important part of this midfield group. Matthew Kennedy, can you see him taking his game to another level from the middle of the ground? And now we're relying on someone like Jack Carroll to come in and go, okay, he was serviceable last week, came in and played a role. Can he build on that? Can he take his game to another level? Can Elijah Hollands, who's probably tapered off somewhat, can he go into the middle of the ground and get that spark back? I'm not seeing it, guys. I'm not feeling it. And I don't think a road trip at this time of the year, a really important game for Port Adelaide, and I understand it's a massive game for us. It really is. And I've been hearing all week our players speak and our coach speak in regards to opportunities, and maybe they found something in the second half against North Melbourne. They found their DNA in regards to the way we want to play, but I'm not necessarily seeing it that way. And the uncertainty around our group at the moment, and we look through our team, and I know there's some forced changes and big forced changes, TDK going out, and right there is one of our most dynamic and best clearance players. But the uncertainty around a youngster like Lockie Cowan, if he plays, can Matthew Cottrell and Ollie Hollands take their game to another level after showing some reasonable form last week? Because I don't think Blake Acres will play, and that's another massive out for us. And if he does play, he'll be playing sore. He has to be. Off a 5-day break, if Blake Acres plays, he will be playing very, very sore. And just, it's funny how it's all working out with us, and a lot of uncertainty. Suddenly, we were banging on, and rightfully so, about how effective Zach Williams was as that sort of medium-sized forward who could hit the scoreboard and provide that X factor. Now, he's out of the team for 3 to 4 weeks, even more with a hamstring injury. All these players who are made of cotton wool, who we are relying on to come in. McGovern, in and out of the football team, now coming back. We need him back in. Okay, Martin, hardly see him. We need him back in. So he's expected to come in this week and perform. Like, is he expected to come back in and perform straight away? And who knows with Jack Martin? He might play 1 or 2 games and go, okay, and then he goes out again. The same with Marchbank, plays 1 game, goes out illness, goes out injured. And then there's someone like David Cunningham as well. So I just... There's so much fucking uncertainty about this football team of ours tomorrow night in such a big game against a team that I reckon is going to be primed to get the job done. This one, guys, isn't going our way. Call me a pessimist. Call me, okay, not a Carlton supporter because I'm actually picking the opposition, but that's just the way it is. I'm not going to put the blinkers on here, okay? I will be barracking my heart out for my football club and my football team, but the power of getting the chocolates done. The power of getting the chocolates tomorrow night at Marvel Stadium. And if we get up, okay, it's on with me in the review. It really is. Speak soon.